You're listening to the Franchise Freedom Podcast with Giuseppe Grammatico.
Okay, and welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide. And today we have a solo episode. Wanted to record this quick little episode and talk about my latest trip to St. Louis as we just had our summer national franchise conference where we got to meet well over 100 franchise companies, whether that be their staff, founders, CEOs, development managers, and got some great updates both on the industry and a lot of the brands, a lot of the top brands out there. So I wanted to, kind of kick things off with, although a lot of what was covered was reinforcement that there were some changes and some updates we're going to share today, but wanted to start off with franchising in general. So the idea of, a lot of people have been sending in questions to my colleagues and I about, is franchising better than a startup? Or, franchise versus startup. And it all lies in the value proposition of what a franchise is. And that's really a proven business model. It's a model that's been proven. It's been tested. That franchise or that founder has maybe had a few corporate offices to make the business work. So a franchise is really, I don't like to say pros and cons, but really for the person that is looking not to recreate the wheel, but really to have the business kind of set up so that they can run with it. So buy the franchise, go to training and off to the races as opposed to having to figure everything out and finding the vendors and the systems and the best accounting programs and things like that. So a lot of it was kind of reinforcement. We get those questions quite a bit. And we spoke at length about just the value proposition of a franchise and who it's for, and just getting clear, as I do with all my intro calls, figuring out who is the right fit, or if it is a right fit for the person I'm talking to as well. So I'm going to pull up my banners here. And at the end of the day, it's all about you. It's all about, what you are looking to accomplish. And we talked about goals and visions and things like that. And franchising is one of the many vehicles that can potentially get you to where you want to be. So really trying to figure out where you want to be, where you're currently at, and kind of, in between, what is that gap? What is that vehicle that's going to get you from where you are now to where you want to be? And there are various vehicles, and sometimes it's a combination of all those vehicles: startup, franchise, investments, passive income, real estate, the list goes on. And it's really figuring out, is it one? Is it maybe an allocation? Is it multiple? And what are the pros and cons of being passive income, where maybe you don't necessarily have a say, versus owning your own franchise where you can control the day to day. So at the end of the day, it's all about you. I like to put this little banner here at the bottom of the screen. So next on the list, the franchise companies, talking with quite a few of the brands, they are constantly looking for ways to support their franchisees, to make them be able to expand their businesses, become more profitable. And many of the brands that we've talked about, we're not going to go into specifics today, but are adding additional revenue streams. So what does that mean, revenue stream? Well, basically, it's an optional way to grow your business without incurring an additional franchise fee per se. Maybe a little extra training, maybe some equipment that's involved, but different ways, keeping the same franchise and business and being able to upsell your existing customers. Other things that we've noticed as far as services, we've seen franchise companies cover the concern of, a lot of people I talk to are talking about, well, how do you find people? It's hard to find good employees. And we've seen numerous franchise companies come up to the plate and say, you know what, we are going to not only help you, we are going to create our own in-house recruitment department. And that recruitment department is going to consist of us of a team that will help you find not only your employees, but if you own just say a roofing franchise and there are roofing contractors or painting contractors, we will help on both ends, both find your team, your internal team, your W-2 employees, as well as the people doing the work, and maybe, finding those contractors, those painting contractors and those roofing contractors. So Lot of no extra costs, a lot of additional services in order to make the franchisees more successful. Take a lot of, reduce the concern, I should say, being able to find people, because it's inevitable there's going to be turnover at some point. So how do we keep those employees on as long as possible? And in the event there is some turnover, or you're expanding and you want to find new employees, franchisors, not all, but many have stepped up to assist with finding those employees. Another thing that came up was competition. And, in my day-to-day, people will say, well, based off this specific industry, I believe there's a lot of competition. And guys, at the end of the day, competition is great. That means that there's demand, but sometimes the competition is not who you think it will be. So we had tossed around some ideas in various home service industries, and other franchise names came up, and it's like, well, that franchise is a competitor for this franchise. To find out, and we'll explore handyman services, where it was actually the mom and pop were the main competitor, in that particular industry. And diving a little bit deeper, they were competitors as far as other companies that were doing the same service. But the one thing, going back to the value proposition of a franchise, is that a franchise is going to be professional. They're going to show up on time. They'll potentially have a call center, professional marketing, call center to take your calls, confirm the appointment, and follow up afterwards to make sure that you were pleased. Follow up after the job is done, and future follow up, which is extremely important in obtaining additional business. So if it's a handyman service business and you had some work done, so it's a matter of time you're going to need additional work done at the home. So the handy, craftsman, the handyman, whatever you want to call it, there'll be plenty of them and plenty of competitors, but it's really the franchise system that shines. So, polished CRM in order to keep track of people, following up on anniversaries, making sure things were getting billed, email professional on the spot, invoices and estimates and quotes and things like that. So that makes a huge difference. And that goes again back to the value proposition. So, which leads us into mindset. And you're going to have competition in just about in any industry. But at the end of the day, and I'm going to actually create another podcast talking about my story and kind of my journey from W-2 employee to employer, is all about mindset. When you're getting towards the end of a process and making that final decision of a franchise, you need to just be 100% confident and just be convinced and know that this is going to work out. No matter what it takes or how many hours it's going to be, you will make this work out and not be concerned with that competition. And we talked to dozens and dozens of brands. We got to speak one-on-one, have dinner, and talk to them about that. And, really not focusing on competition, who else is in the space, but focusing on doing the best job possible, offering the best customer service experience. Hey, things are never going to be perfect. Mistakes are going to happen. Complaints are going to come up, but it's all about how you handle it. That's how our last business thrived. It was customer service. It was follow-up. It was never perfect, but we followed up. We fixed things. We did right by the customer. And that was a topic that came up quite a bit. And that's mindset. The mindset of not who my competition is, but I'm going to make this work. We're going to differentiate ourselves. And that's how I'm going to be successful in my business. So, and lastly, just, industries, and these are questions that came up. So part of this update was based off the questions that I get on a daily basis. And people have asked me to say, you know what, while you're there, can you bring things up? And, what are industries that are recovering and thriving, since COVID? And we've seen, franchises around health and wellness. So boutique fitness, med spas, anything around wellness and massages and things like that. Some are all for facials, cryotherapy, light therapy services. They have really exploded in growth and really come back from COVID, as a lot of people working out at home. But the social element, although there's a lot of live video feeds and interaction that way, but it seems that people said, you know what, this is great. For the days I can't really get into the gym But really, people want that one-on-one. They want to be surrounded by other people. And we've seen a lot of people, just go back and maybe put their home gyms aside or their cycle bikes, whatever they're called, aside, and really want to get back to the gym. Home services, anything around that space has done well. People are still continuing to work from home, fix up their home. Discretionary income is up. They've had some savings, maybe held off on some vacations, so they're really putting that money aside and fixing up the home, since they're going to be looking at the home a lot more often as they are working from home. Small business and B2B coaching, reducing expenses for small businesses has been huge. Everyone's looking to cut expense or pivot or maybe change up their businesses. So that has continued to gain interest. And restoration services, as recession resistant as you can get, where, if there's a flood or an emergency or a fire, that water, that smoke, all that has to be removed from the home. So those types of businesses are growing in demand. That really hasn't changed. They were essential businesses. But I have lots of updates, and that list goes on. This was 1 week where we were in St. Louis getting to meet some of the top companies. We got some funding updates, but I wanted to keep this this podcast short as possible. So wanted to thank everyone for listening in. I have a lot of exciting other updates that I'd like to share with you. If you have any interest in asking any questions, general franchise questions, the state of the union, the state of franchising, feel free. Here's my calendar. Put it here at the bottom of the screen. So GG, the franchise guide, GUIDE.com/calendar, or just go to my website and you can book a call directly on the top right-hand side of the screen. If you are not ready, if you'd like some additional information, you can also download our book or download our webinar that talks about W-2 employees versus owning a business, and who's the right fit for a business, and the risks, pros and cons of both, so that you can look at kind of both sides to make that best decision. So visit us, ggthefranchiseguide.com, wealth of resources. You could book a call with me. It's a 20-minute call. There's never a charge for our service, and would love to update you on some additional updates from the conference, industries, ideas. Again, as we talked about, it's all about you. So it's not a one size fits all. So if you are looking to be semi-absentee and keep your job, some ideas come to mind. But if you're looking to maybe dive into business full time, other ideas come to mind. So it all depends on what you're looking for. It depends on your investment, where you're located. Are you going to be home base? Are you going to be a retail brick and mortar location? These are some of the few things that we ask, and we take a deep dive. There's probably anywhere from 15 to 20 business characteristics that we cover. And once we figure that out, we connect you to the best franchises out there. So very excited to be back. Took a little vacation. Got my vacation shirt on. We were in South Carolina, had a blast, and really excited to share a lot of the updates and wisdom we received. So give me a call, send me a message. You can respond to the podcast, leave a message. Best number to reach you. I make sure to respond to every single one, contact everyone, and looking forward to catching up. So as always, thanks for your support. Thanks for listening in. If you found value, or if you know someone that may benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. Please like, share, whatever you can. Send my information. Would love to help as many people as possible, and looking forward to catching up soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways Giuseppe can help. 1. If you've ever considered owning a business of any kind, you owe it to yourself to get a copy of Giuseppe's book, Franchise Freedom. Download your free copy at ggthefranchiseguide.com/book. 2. Want to understand how successful executives make the transition from corporate to owning their own franchise? Join Giuseppe's next online presentation, Franchise Freedom: How to Escape the Corporate World and Have Financial and Time Freedom by Owning a Franchise, by going to ggthefranchiseguide.com/video. 3. Want to work with Giuseppe one-on-one to identify the right franchise opportunity for you, to navigate the process, and get plugged into experienced franchising advisors? Send him an email to gg@ggthefranchiseguide.com with one-on-one in the subject, and he'll send you all the details.